Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to be exploring something pretty personal and universal. It's how aging and the changes in our physical appearance, affect attraction in long-term relationships.
Yeah, it's definitely a topic I think a lot of people think about, but maybe don't always talk about very openly.
Yeah, exactly. And it's easy to get caught up, in those societal pressures to look young forever. But, all the research you've gathered for this deep dive seems to suggest that while initial attraction might come from that first, that initial physical chemistry, the foundation of a lasting relationship really becomes something much deeper uh, over time. It's about those shared experiences, mutual respect, and a connection that goes beyond the surface. And one of the things that I found so fascinating was this whole idea of compassionate attraction. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So compassionate attraction basically describes this shift from what some people might call like hot attraction to a deeper understanding and appreciation of your partner. It's about viewing the changes that come with age, both in yourself and your partner with, empathy and kindness rather than judgment.
So it's not about ignoring those physical changes, but it's more about seeing them through a different lens.
Exactly. Like, for example, one of the studies that we looked at followed couples who had been together for decades. And this one couple talked about how they used to tease each other about, getting a little bit softer around the middle. But as time went on, those little jokes kind of turned into moments of shared understanding. They recognized that these changes were just a natural part of their journey together. And they began to see those imperfections as symbols of their shared history, of growing older alongside each other.
That's such a beautiful way to look at it. It's like finding the beauty in that evolution of your relationship, even in the physical changes that, maybe at first you're like, I don't know if I like that.
Right, exactly. And, this compassionate view can be incredibly powerful in maintaining a strong connection. Because think about it, when you approach your partner's changes with that acceptance and understanding, you're really fostering deeper intimacy. You're saying, I see you, I accept you, and I love you through all of life's stages.
Now, that makes a lot of sense. But, it's hard to deny those societal pressures that we face to kind of defy aging,
Yeah.
especially with the constant images everywhere we look, promoting youth as like the ideal. So how can couples navigate, all those external influences while also fostering this internal sense of compassionate attraction?
That's a great question. It's almost like you're fighting a battle on two fronts, right? You've got that internal struggle with our own perceptions of getting older, and then that external pressure from society that's like, no, 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 don't age. And the key is really recognizing that those external pressures are often totally unrealistic and ultimately unattainable.
It's like chasing a mirage. You'll never actually reach it.
Exactly. And in that process of chasing, you might miss out on the beauty of the present moment, the beauty of aging alongside your partner. So instead of focusing on what's changing physically, try shifting your attention to what's deepening emotionally. What are the qualities that you admire in your partner that have actually grown stronger over time? Their sense of humor, their kindness, their wisdom.
I love that. It's about recognizing that true beauty comes from within. It comes from the qualities that make a person truly special, rather than those fleeting external appearances.
Right. And those internal qualities become even more important as we get older. They're really the foundation of a lasting connection, a connection that can withstand the test of time and the inevitable changes that come with it.
So while those initial butterflies of attraction might fade, they can evolve into something deeper and more enduring. Something that's not just about passion, but about a profound connection that really embraces every stage of life.
Exactly. It's like those butterflies transform into something more like fireflies. Still magical, but in a quieter, more nuanced way.
I like that analogy a lot. It really captures the idea that attraction can shift and change over time. It becomes something richer and more complex. But what about the physical side of things? It's great to talk about emotional connection and compassionate attraction, but how does that translate to the more intimate aspects of a relationship?
That's where a lot of assumptions and misconceptions come into play. People often just assume that getting older inevitably leads to a decline in sexual desire and satisfaction. But the research actually paints a much more nuanced picture.
Oh, this is where I'm really curious to hear more. So
Yeah.
tell me, what does the research say about how aging affects, intimacy?
Well, studies have shown that while there can be hormonal shifts that happen with age, and these can impact sexual desire and function, it doesn't necessarily mean the end of a fulfilling sex life.
So it's not like hitting a sexual expiration date.
Not at all. In fact, many couples find that the quality of their intimate life actually improves as they get older.
That's fascinating. What contributes to this improvement? Is it just about getting more comfortable with each other over time?
That's definitely part of it. As we age, we often shed some of those insecurities and we become more confident in our own skin. And that confidence can be incredibly attractive. And it can also translate to a more relaxed and enjoyable experience in the bedroom.
So it's not about, trying to recapture the passion of our youth, but more about discovering a new kind of intimacy that's more aligned with who we are now.
Exactly. It's about embracing the changes in our bodies and our desires and communicating openly with our partners about what feels good. It's about exploring new ways to connect both physically and emotionally. One of the couples that we read about actually talked about how their lovemaking became slower and more deliberate over time, and how that actually heightened their sense of intimacy.
That actually reminds me of a story from one of the articles you sent me. A couple that had been married for over 30 years described how their attraction had actually grown stronger over time. They talked about facing challenges together, raising children, navigating career changes, and how those experiences had deepened their bond in ways they couldn't have imagined in their younger years.
Yes, and that couple's story really illustrates how shared experiences can actually strengthen attraction. They faced a pretty significant health scare together, and they described it as a turning point in their relationship. It forced them to confront their own mortality, appreciate each other more deeply, and recognize the preciousness of their time together.
It's almost like those wrinkles and gray hairs become badges of honor, little reminders of the battles they've fought side by side.
I love that perspective. It's about seeing those physical changes not as signs of decline, but as testaments to a life well lived, a love story in progress, and recognizing that the love that can grow through those changes is often stronger and more resilient than the love that's just based solely on youthful appearances.
This is really making me realize that aging gracefully isn't just about how we look on the outside, but it's how we feel on the inside. It's how connected we are to our partners and how confidently we can embrace the journey together.
You've hit the nail on the head. And I think that's a great place to pause for now. When we come back, we'll delve into some practical tips for nurturing attraction as we age, both emotionally and physically, so stay tuned.
We're back and continuing our deep dive into aging and attraction. Before the break, we were talking about how those initial sparks of attraction can actually turn into something much deeper, more enduring as we age. And we touched on emotional connection and compassionate attraction. But I'd love to get into some practical tips for actually nurturing that connection. So where do we even begin?
Well, one of the most important things couples can do is to really prioritize emotional intimacy. It's easy to get so caught up in the day-to-day, but making time for those meaningful conversations can really make a world of difference.
So you're talking about those deep soul-bearing conversations, not just, who's picking up the dry cleaning.
Exactly. It's about sharing your dreams, your fears, your vulnerabilities with each other. It's about truly seeing and being seen by your partner. And this doesn't have to be some big orchestrated event. It can be as simple as, putting your phones down for 15 minutes each day and really connecting with each other. Ask about their day, share something that's been on your mind, really listen to what they have to say.
That sounds simple enough, but it's amazing how easy it is to let those kind of conversations just slip away in the busyness of life. It's like a muscle that needs to be exercised regularly.
Absolutely. And like any muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Another important aspect of nurturing attraction is staying physically active together.
Now, I'm guessing this is about more than, just trying to maintain a certain physique to impress each other.
Right. While taking care of your physical health is definitely important, the real benefit comes from that shared experience, the endorphin rush. The feeling of vitality you get from moving your bodies together. So choose activities that you both enjoy, whether it's hiking or dancing or even just taking a walk in the park. The key is to find something that brings you joy and helps you feel connected.
That makes sense. It's about finding ways to have fun together, to create those shared experiences that really foster that sense of playfulness and connection. So what else can couples do to keep that spark alive, especially as they're navigating the physical changes that come with getting older?
One thing that I think often gets overlooked is the importance of celebrating those changes. So instead of viewing aging as something to be feared or resisted, try to appreciate the wisdom, the humor, the life experiences that come with it.
So instead of lamenting those new wrinkles or gray hairs, we should view them as reminders of a life well lived.
Exactly. Embrace the evolution of your physical selves, both individually and as a couple. Remember that aging is a privilege, and it's something that you're experiencing together. And this really ties back into compassionate attraction. When you can look at your partner and see the beauty in their journey, in the lines etched on their face, that's a powerful form of attraction. It goes way beyond the superficial and speaks to a deep appreciation for who they are inside and out.
I love that perspective. It's about shifting our focus from what's changing on the outside to what's enduring on the inside. It's recognizing that true beauty comes from a life well lived, from the experiences that have shaped us, and from the love that has sustained us.
Beautifully said. And that brings us to another important tip. Don't be afraid to rediscover intimacy. As we age, our bodies change, our desires may change, and what feels good might change too. So approach intimacy with a sense of curiosity and exploration. And don't hesitate to communicate openly with your partner about what you're both experiencing.
This is making me realize that maintaining intimacy as we get older really requires effort and communication. Just like any other aspect of a relationship, it's about staying curious, being connected, and staying open to new possibilities.
You hit the nail on the head. It's about keeping those lines of communication open both in and out of the bedroom. And remember, intimacy isn't just about sex. It's about all those small, everyday gestures that convey love, affection, and connection.
Oh, yeah. Like, what are some of those small gestures that can make a big difference?
Things like holding hands, cuddling on the couch, giving each other a back rub, a lingering kiss goodnight, all those little things add up and they create that foundation of closeness that can withstand the tests of time. And as we age, those small acts can become even more meaningful because they represent a conscious choice, a deliberate decision to nurture the relationship.
I love that. It's about those consistent everyday expressions of love that remind us why we chose to be with this person in the first place. And as we're going through all those changes that come with aging, those small gestures can be incredibly reassuring and affirming.
Absolutely. And don't underestimate the power of self-care. When you prioritize your own physical and mental health, you're really bringing your best self to the relationship.
So self-care isn't selfish. It's actually an investment in the relationship.
Exactly. When you feel good about yourself, when you're confident and energized, that radiates outward and positively impacts every aspect of your life, including your relationship.
It's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah,
You need to take care of yourself so you have something to give to your partner.
precisely. And when both partners are taking care of themselves, it creates this really beautiful dynamic where they can support and nourish each other. It's about recognizing that individual well-being contributes to the overall health and happiness of the relationship.
This conversation has really highlighted the importance of approaching aging as a team. It's about supporting each other, celebrating each other, and continuing to learn and grow together.
That's the key. It's about seeing aging not as an ending, but as a new chapter, filled with possibilities for deeper connection, greater understanding, and a love that continues to evolve and flourish.
Well, I'm feeling incredibly inspired by this conversation. It's giving me a whole new perspective on aging and its potential to actually enhance rather than diminish attraction in a long-term relationship.
I love that. And I think it's a message worth sharing. It's about challenging societal norms, reframing our perspectives, and embracing the richness of a love that deepens and evolves over time.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here and given our listeners a lot to think about, but I have a feeling there's even more to explore. So, what final thoughts would you like to leave our listeners with as we wrap up this deep dive? We're back for the final part of our deep dive, into aging and attraction. And, through all this talk about, wrinkles and libidos and all these changes we face over time,
Yeah.
what keeps coming back to me is this idea that maybe the love that grows through all of this, the shared experiences, the ups and downs, could actually be more profound than those, initial sparks.
It's a thought that definitely resonates with a lot of what we've been exploring today. Those early stages of a relationship, they're so exciting. There's that rush of discovery, that intensity, but a love that stood the test of time, that's weathered storms and come out stronger on the other side. There's just a depth there that's really hard to describe.
Yeah, it's almost like those early stages are about discovering each other's surfaces, the things that initially draw you in. But then as we age, as we go through life together, we start to peel back those layers. We see each other's vulnerabilities, that not so pretty parts. And if we're lucky, that's where true intimacy takes root.
Beautifully put. One of the studies we looked at for this deep dive actually talked about this. Researchers interviewed couples who had been together for decades. And one of the recurring themes was how their love became more multifaceted as they aged. It wasn't just about passion, although that was still there, but it was about deep friendship, shared values, and a level of comfort and acceptance that only comes from really knowing someone inside and out.
Oh, yeah. I remember a line from one of the articles, something about how the love that endures is the love that embraces change, that sees wrinkles not as flaws, but as roadmaps of a life well lived.
Yes. And that brings us to a really important point. It's not about clinging to youth or trying to recapture those early days. It's about recognizing the beauty of the present moment, of who you and your partner are now, the wisdom you've gained, the humor you've developed, the challenges you've faced together. Those experiences, those are what make your love story unique.
It really makes you wonder if we get so caught up in, chasing after youth and trying to hold on to that initial spark that we miss out on the deeper, more enduring kind of love that's waiting to be discovered as we age. What if the best is yet to come?
That's such a powerful question. And I think the answer is different for everyone. But I do believe that there's so much beauty and potential in embracing the aging process, both individually and as couples. It's about letting go of those societal expectations and recognizing the inherent value of experience, of a love that's grown and matured alongside you.
This whole deep dive has been like a real eye-opener for me. I'm walking away with a newfound appreciation for the complexities of aging and attraction. It's not as simple as society makes it seem. And you know what? I'm actually feeling hopeful about the future.
I love that. That's exactly the kind of shift in perspective we were hoping to spark with this conversation. It's about challenging those ingrained notions we have about what's attractive, what's desirable, and realizing that, true lasting love runs so much deeper than what we see on the surface.
So to wrap things up, I want to leave our listeners with this thought. If the love that grows through change, through those ups and downs of life, through the wrinkles and the gray hairs, if that love can be even more profound than that initial fiery attraction, what does that tell us about the true nature of lasting love? What does it tell us about the power of connection, of acceptance, of choosing each other day after day, year after year, through all of life's twists and turns?
What a beautiful question to ponder. And I think the answer lies in the journey itself, in the shared experiences, the triumphs and setbacks, the laughter and the tears that weave together the tapestry of a life well lived, a love well loved. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep embracing the beautiful complexity of love and life in all its seasons.